welcome to another episode of She Cares series. Today I have with me Elysa, and I'm really excited to be talking to you today because I know you're going to give us some nuggets.
I hope so.
So if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can start real quick.
A little bit about myself. I am a clinical social worker.
Clinical social worker. Okay.
And specialize in couples counseling. A mom of a son who is 13, you know.
Yes.
And Catherine's stepdaughter,
Yeah.
who's 12. And yeah, from Canada. I've been here for years and years and years. 17
And
years.
when you say you've been here, you've been in Cape Town, South Africa.
Cape Town, South Africa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so we've been, but we love living here.
Absolutely. So tell me, when it comes to self-care, what does self-care means to you?
Self-care means to me, I would say all of those things that you have to do, that you know that you need to do. So, just kind of the basics of, sleep, food, all that. But I think it's like spiritual, mental, physical, all that stuff. If you're doing them consistently, that you just have that energy, you have that lightness of being and that kind of security. And for sure, the thing with me being a Christian that I know throughout my whole life, when I'm clicked into my Creator,
Yeah.
when I'm clicked in spiritually and reading the Word and praying,
Yeah.
I just feel like the Bible is like an instruction manual for life. So when I'm in that, I just feel like God's saying, okay, this is how I created you, and
Yes.
that connection is
I
everything.
love that. I love that. So you're like connected to the blueprints, like someone that has the blueprints.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So how do you specifically self-care? Because I know you have a career woman, you have family, you active in your community and juggling friends, and so much going on. How do you personally self-care?
So it would be making sure every day I wake up and I read the Bible, pray. That's the foundation of the day. Walking the dogs in the forest is amazing for me. I have to, it. I'm trying to get you in there. There's something about Takai Forest that just is amazing to be in nature, be with the dogs just for that hour, and then start the day. And just specifically, I would say making sure I get sleep as well. It sounds like something small, but it's huge. If I don't get enough sleep, I just feel flat.
Yeah.
So sleep, making sure that I'm eating healthily, making sure spiritually clicked in, exercise for sure. Oh, the other thing is, especially I'm relational, right? I'm a relationship person. So for me, it's making sure of having that what would you call it? Having short accounts with people. If you start getting frustrated, to be able to work through stuff with people and not have resentment building. It's a huge freeing factor for me.
Definitely.
Is that having that moment to say, okay, let's talk. Let's find grace and humility to talk through stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I feel that can impact you physically.
Definitely. Definitely. So in that sense, because that's a good thing to do in terms of making sure that you get things out and you're able to connect with people and making sure to be on the same page, almost like. So in the midst of all this, how do you not also keep boundaries?
That's a big one. So I think that's a huge one, is that I think we're all so, we've all got our stuff.
Yeah.
And so we do impose on people, on one another's boundaries. So for me, it's huge to be able to communicate about it and be able to say, hey, this is how I'm feeling about it. And if somebody's imposing on my boundaries, to be able to say it. And I think it's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
It's awkward.
Yeah.
So, but to me, it's just over the years, just learning to be able to say, let's talk about it. And it sounds like a cheesy saying, but it's like speaking the truth in love. Being able to say, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I'm thinking, and being curious about the other person. And I think it helps to kind of work through what's going on rather than resentment and letting somebody step on your boundaries.
Absolutely. So when we talk about self-care, especially as women, we often talk about sisterhood.
Yeah.
And that can be a really good form of self-care.
Absolutely.
Right? The first question is, I'm sure you do, but do you have your own sisterhood? What does that mean to you? How do you find those sisterhood, shipnesshood, and how do you keep it?
Okay, that's a big one. Because for me, it's so important to me. I don't have huge, I don't care about the parties and the socializing. I care about having that one-on-one support and having, being there for somebody else. So I have my bestie, Carrie, who's fellow Canadian in South Africa, who I met in the forest. And we just started chatting. And so, it's amazing to see as well. Her and I walked every day for a couple of years. And when she had to work, I noticed that difference of just being able to kind of download that morning hour. But now just being intentional and making that time to be able to say, okay, we're going to be there for each other no matter what, because that's another thing. Life happens, and it's easy to say, oh, no, like even today, it would have been so easy to go, I got a client, I have to do this, I have to do that. It's like, no, Lucy's my friend, I got to show up for her. So I think that's important, is to show up for one another and to communicate. Always goes back to that. To be able to communicate and to be there for one another.
That's amazing.
And to be able to get out all the stuff.
Yes, absolutely. So there's a lot of facts and myths about self-care, obviously, because a lot of self-care seems to be almost like a new thing, which is never, it's not a new thing. It's always been, we're all born with self-care. That's the basic of anything, I feel like. But do you have anything specific when you feel like, what is this self-care that is not self-care? And this is the fact about it, or this is like a myth that you've heard that you feel like you've debunked over the years?
A myth about self-care. I'm trying to think of anything that comes up. One thing that comes up is kind of judgy. I don't know.
No, that's fine. No judgment, but again, speaking the truth. We speak the truth in love.
It's totally not helpful. It was just because I can't think of any myths.
That's fine. That's fine. What about facts? Like, this is a fact for sure.
A fact.
Like, you know for sure.
About
self-care.
Well, and again, it seems cheesy that it is like you have to take care of yourself. So being a mom, being in a relationship, being in a career, all of that you absolutely have to focus on yourself before you can be there for other people.
So your cup have to be full before you can pour into other people.
And being a people pleaser, that's a big one. I learned over all the years that, and again, this goes into faith as well, is that you can please people. Like, I generally like to do things for people, but if you find that you're doing things so much and you're saying yes because you think you want to do, you don't want to disappoint people, if you do that for too long, then that resentment does build up and you get burnt out, and then you can't be there for anybody if you're just feeling overwhelmed and resentful and all that.
That makes so much sense. Absolutely.
I'm glad it makes sense.
Yes, it did. It does make sense. Last question that I always ask my guests. What is your superpower?
My superpower is gonna sound so cheesy, but it's God.
It's God.
Being connected with God.
Yes.
Knowing that He created me to love me, and that He is there. He's like pure love. So I mean, there's often I think religion gets thrown into the mix, and people can look at Christians as judgmental. But honestly, Jesus is pure love. And so when you're clicked into the supernatural power of God, that is better than any kind of alcohol, any kind of anything. It's calming, it's just peace, love, joy, hope, all of those things. Things I can't do on my own.
Absolutely. Thank you, Elysa.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Alright guys, thank you again for joining us. Another episode of She Care series. I hope you pick one or two things. I know I do, especially God. For me, that's absolutely number one as well. But I always say my superpower also is vulnerability. I really like to be vulnerable to people and all that. But God covers everything. Under God is vulnerability, under God is everything, right?
Yes, I so agree with you on the vulnerability. Because when you are vulnerable, people can connect with you. If you aren't vulnerable, then if you're putting up a facade, people can't connect with that. Once you're vulnerable, then they are vulnerable and you can connect.
Definitely.
I totally agree with that. That's why I love you.
I love you too. Alright guys, I will see you next time and have a great day.